We have created materials and assigned them to objects in our scene. They will be saved with the file when we save the max file. So when we come back, the materials will be available for us to edit and access. They will either be in the material editor or applied to objects in the scene. However, if we go to another file or start a new file, these materials will no longer be available to us. In order to have access to these materials, we need to create a material library. We want to open the file Chapter 4 Interior Mask 03.max. Click on the Application button. Open. In the Open File dialog, navigate to the Chapter 4 Datasets directory and load the Chapter 4 Interior Mask 03.max file. Once that's loaded, open the Compact Material Editor by clicking on the Compact Material Editor button in the main toolbar flyout. In the Material Editor lower toolbar, we're going to click the button called Get Material. It's the one all the way to the left-hand side on the toolbar. This opens the Material Map browser. If you've used 3ds Max prior to release 2011, you'll notice that this dialog has changed significantly. You'll notice that there are some default rollouts that include the Autodesk Material Library, the scene materials, which contain materials that are associated with objects in the scene, the sample slots rollout, which contain the materials that are located in the sample slots of the Compact Material Editor, the maps rollout, and the materials rollout that contains the mental ray and standard materials. Two options located on the very top of the dialog are the Search by Name and the Material Map Browser Options button. If you open the drop-down menu from the Material Map Browser Options icon, you will see two operations that will work on material libraries. The first is to create a new material library, and the second is to open a material library that is located on our hard drives. We want to save the materials in our scene out to a material library so we can use it on another computer or load it up in a different file so we don't have to recreate the materials that we've already created. In order to do this, we need to create a new material library. In the Material Map Browser, click the Material Map Browser Options button. We're going to select from the drop-down menu the New Material Library option. That will open up a Create New Material Library dialog box. This gives us the opportunity to name our material library. Let's type in My Materials and click OK. You'll notice a new rollout called My Materials. On the very right-hand side of that rollout, you'll see the letters LIB, which indicate that this is an external library that's loaded up into 3ds Max. Before we add any materials to this library, we need to go ahead and save it to the hard drive. To do that, let's right-click on the new My Materials rollout. From the My Materials Options menu, select on the file name. From the flyout menu, choose Save As. Now we can name this something other than the default file name. We'll leave it in the default location for right now, and we'll name this file My Materials. Then click Save to save it down to the hard drive. Now that we've set up our material library, we can begin to drag and drop materials from the material slots in the Compact Material Editor over to the My Material rollout. When you're dragging the materials over to put them into the library, you need to make sure that when you add them, you see a blue line appear in the rollout. This blue line indicates the order that the material will initially be placed in the library. If you drag over a material in your library and you see a red line, this means that you will overwrite the highlighted material in your library. This can be useful if you create a new version of the material and you wish to replace the old version that's in the library with this new version. So continue dragging and dropping your materials into the My Materials library rollout. If the material does not appear after you've dragged it into the rollout, drag the material back into the rollout, but drop it down a little bit, and that should solve the problem. Once we have our scene materials in our new library, let's go ahead and save that library. To do this, right-click on the My Materials rollout. In the My Materials Options menu, click on the file name, which is at the very top of the menu. In the flyout menu, click the Save option. This will now save our material library with the new additions down to the hard drive. Close the Material Map Browser, close the Material Editor, and press Ctrl-S on the keyboard to save the file.